Welcome to Together We Launch Resiliency podcast, where history meets the future, providing resiliency skills to prevent stigma and social isolation since January 2021. Our belief remains nothing measures potential. Hi, my name is Alyssa Kaplan, licensed clinical social worker and founder of the Together We Launch program. I am thrilled to share with you Lisa May, our guest speaker, who not only chased her childhood dream, but caught it. Wait until you hear what she does. Many parents may not be aware of the services we're discussing today. However, scientific studies and evidence-based brain research is showing its impact. It is horse services, and believe it or not, it can make a tremendous impact on social emotional development for children with all kinds of special needs and challenges. Lisa May is a clinical social worker, a certified grief counselor, and a certified horsemanship instructor. She owns a horse stable in Maryland, and I had an opportunity to visit her and her barn some years ago. Her certification as a horsemanship instructor is through an organization well known in the field of horses called Professional Association of Therapeutic Horsemanship. We will hear more about that organization today and how to access it. But for now, let's listen to Lisa, because for over 30 years, she's provided therapeutic horsemanship services to over 800 children and adults.
Thank you for having me, Alyssa. I hope to surprise your listeners with some useful information. It was in the early 1990s, a time when communication and access to resources was much more limited than today. I was the lead instructor at the largest public stable in New York City. But as a child, I had dreamed of opening my own stable. And in 1993, I moved to Maryland and have been successful now for 26 years. Over these years as a social worker, I've continued to study horse services and special needs because I was excited by what I saw firsthand. I saw breakthrough moments of emotional development. Kids were learning skills they hadn't gained in other ways before working with the horses and me. I saw fear turn into confidence, anxiety into self-assurance, and anger turn into trust. It didn't just happen for a child once in a while. It happened often and over again. Magical things happened. The best way I can describe it is to say children came alive, they became connected and peaceful or joyful.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. And yeah, there used to be a lot of stigma, and now what you're doing is so important because it takes away some of that stigma when kids can do more. And I know that you've been doing it for 26 years. You've had your own stable. And so I'm wondering, what are some of the advances in the field that you've witnessed, and what do you think the future is?
These days, more people have heard about horses helping than a decade ago, but in my opinion, it's not yet a mainstream intervention for the many children who could benefit. But now that medical research is investigating how it works, how the brain is affected, altering emotions and behaviors, I'm sure awareness will continue to grow. If parents want more information, they can check out the website of the professional organization that certifies me.
Oh, and I have a 1-minute clip from that website. Let me share that with the parents.
The Professional Association of Therapeutic Horsemanship, or PATH International, celebrates ability, optimism, diversity, and a shared love of equines. It is the premier professional membership association and an international voice for the therapeutic horsemanship industry, a nonprofit organization promoting safety and optimal outcomes. The association certifies professionals and accredits centers that help individuals facing challenges find strength and independence through the power of the horse. A physical, cognitive, or emotional challenge does not limit a person from interacting with horses. In fact, such interactions can prove quite rewarding. Whether it's a 5-year-old with Down syndrome, a family struggling with grief, a 25-year-old veteran recovering from a spinal cord injury, or a senior citizen recovering from a stroke, research shows that individuals of all ages who participate in therapeutic horsemanship can experience physical and emotional rewards. To find a PATH International Center, learn more about therapeutic horsemanship, and how to get involved, please visit our website at www.pathintl.org.
There are almost 5,000 certified instructors and specialists like me, and believe it or not, almost 900 stables in the US that offer the service. PATH says that around the world, we help over 60,000 children and adults to find strength and independence through horses and instructors every year.
That's incredible. So what do you think makes the therapeutic horsemanship service stand out from other services that children receive?
Outside of home, most places that teach children use spoken or written words or maybe a technology device for learning. But for those who have difficulty learning through listening to words and just hearing ideas, there are three things I noticed that are particularly useful to social and emotional development. They are, for one thing, playing, for another, having experiences that are unusual, and third, being close to and around animals.
That's interesting. Can you expand on that?
In play and with animals, we learn through our senses, and sensory input on our bodies is significant, like touch, doing with our hands, or experiencing things with our whole body. Horses also learn through what they see and feel in little bits at a time with repetition and rewards. So people who work with horses are often good at coaching since they understand the power of patience, repetition, and rewards. Combining our sensory experiences with playfulness and joy also serves as a model of techniques and strategies for parents.
That's neat. So what you're saying is that you're not only teaching the child to move past their limits and try something new, you're also modeling for the parents ways that they can help their child learn.
Exactly, Alyssa. As I interact with a parent's child and the horses, they see their child's success. They get the feeling of how to modulate interactions to fit their child's unique needs. During horse interactions, many children can learn gestures remarkably easily by copying what they see or by me using my hand under or over the child's hand to give them the feeling of how to make movements. Let me say it another way. Lots of parents may have experienced on-the-job learning, on-the-job training. We followed someone as they did a job and we copied them. Eventually, we learned many steps, but we learned in small increments and through movement. Keep in mind, the first time we have experiences, we can be frightened, surprised, or excited, all at the same time even. However, it's also true that aside from feeling fear, an unknown experience grabs our attention and our focus in a special way. That's what the experience is like for most children I've worked with.
Wow. So why do you think that these horsemanship services feel so different than the other multisensory experiences for the kids?
Most of us live in cities and towns and have rarely, if ever, been on a farm or around farm animals regularly or with therapeutic support. What I observe is that children don't get bored of being around the horses. Their attention is sparked and there's excitement and energy about trying this new experience, whether it's their first time or their 21st time. That excitement and coaching overrides anything that could be a behavioral or emotional challenge. When we're learning how to take care of horses, be safe near them, lead them on a leash or sit on top of them, even though it takes a lot of repetition to learn those things, it isn't boring to repeat the steps, even if it takes many times until we can do them. Instead, it's confidence and self-esteem building.
Wow. So these little kids next to these big horses, learning to manage, they must feel really good. It's really remarkable. I can imagine being at the barn and seeing the child, be successful, and it must be amazing for the parents, emotionally to see their child do this. So I'm wondering, like, that's nice for at the barn, but then how is it useful socially and emotionally once they leave the barn?
Good question, Alyssa. You see that the skill of understanding the value of repetition, facing fear, or becoming more open to experiences, or going out of their comfort zone, translate into home and community. Sometimes right after they visit the barn, they're more cooperative at home and more engaged at school. Even long after having the experiences, parents have shared how their child has remembered it for a new awareness of the world around them and with others. The animals are alive, they're warm, they're furry and curious, and they give a sense of stimulation and pleasure in ways that classrooms and homes and even being out in the community simply cannot replicate.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. So they're learning to bring repetition into their homes and their communities in ways so that it's not so mundane, and that parents are learning to use repetition and seeing how it works. Like when you see success somewhere else, then you're like, okay, I can do that. And they're bringing home games and fun ways of helping their kids learn using a positive encouragement, probably some of the words that you might even use while you're at the barn. You share some general understanding of what's happening with the kids. And I'm wondering specifically, can you share a story or two about some of the kids that you worked with that you saw them gain resiliency in themselves?
Okay, a child who didn't speak until he got to know a horse. His first word was his horse's name. I meet kids who are fussy, withdrawn, they don't look other people in the eye, but they get animated when they see me with the horse. They look at the horse, they look at me, they grin. Trevor was a boy who was afraid of the horse. We practiced putting one of his hands on his belly and one on his chest to feel himself breathing long and slow to relax. One day at home, he cut his leg. At the emergency room, when the doctor got ready to give him stitches, Trevor put his hands on his chest and belly and started relaxation breathing. The doctor asked, "Where did you learn that?" And the boy said, "Horses."
Oh, that's so cute.
There's a tiny child named Anne who has an unusually small brain. Over time, she's learned every step it takes to catch her horse, clean him, put on a saddle, ride him. Now she's helping me teach another girl who was born with a part of her brain missing.
Incredible.
Anne and Cindy are the same height and age. Cindy doesn't especially like adults showing her things, not even me, but Anne can reach Cindy better than I can, as if they're playing. And Anne is practicing being a leader. Just imagine the confidence it gives a child to lead a giant animal from the ground or be high up on top of the horse's back.
Wow. That's so cool. They're learning all those leadership skills. They're leading the horse. They're learning to lead one another. I love the stories. I love the outcomes. And I just can imagine being there and the emotions that the parents must feel and have, and the kids, and that you're part of that is really moving. Oprah would say, it's an aha moment where the parents can shift their mindset from thinking what they think their kids can't do to really understanding that the role of accommodations or working with trained people and changes in environmental settings can have on their child. Lisa, can you expand upon the real deeper lessons even that you feel that parents can gain from hearing these experiences?
Sure, Alyssa. Children who don't communicate in words, who have difficulty speaking or get bored easily, can come alive outdoors with creatures that are so different from them. And once that occurs, it shifts the child and the family in a positive way. Parent-child interactions can be deeply improved or shifted when they bond over experiences that involve a horse. And parents see and begin to understand the doorway into their child's abilities. It impacts the parent, not just the child.
Wow. So then how do you feel when you see it happen?
The most powerful thing that I have often seen is that families with siblings who fight constantly at home and tire out their parents, or kids who get into it with other students in classrooms, when they come together with me in a field of horses, the relationships change dramatically. I guide them to begin to work as a team, to learn how to catch the horse, lead it together into the barn. They learn to take turns and be patient and help each other climb up on stools to reach every part of the horse to brush it off. They learn how to rely on each other to lift up a horse's leg and clean out its feet, position its equipment, lead that horse around. So I watch them evolve as they feel joy and peace together while taking turns riding. They've had a really cool experience, and it's been together.
Oh, I like that together. How you are able to transform these relationships is interesting. And I know it's you and the horses, so that's what I mean, but it's incredible. Sibling relationships are so significant in people's lives. So having something that can transform them is quite useful. What do you hear kids do with the experiences once they leave the barn?
When they go home or back to school, they remember it and they tell people who weren't there the story or draw pictures or play that their horses reliving that amazing time.
Oh, that's sweet. It sounds like fun. So parents, if they were interested in this, what's the reality is it's probably has a cost to it, and maybe a significant cost, but what can they do to help fund, if they get funds, if they want their child to participate in something like this?
Many programs that offer entitlements and Medicaid services like self-direction budgets or other services for children with developmental challenges may have funding for therapeutic horse services. Parents would need to ask and inquire state or federal government agencies that manage resources like social services or other developmental agencies, nonprofits, private organizations that serve people with challenges are a funding resource. If the child doesn't qualify through other means, the cost range of therapeutic horsemanship in my region can vary greatly and run anywhere from $40 to $150 per session. Parents can ask about that with the stable they find. My hope and the thinking of Path International is that as scientific research proves the benefits, as they're beginning to do, it may someday even be covered as a medical service like occupational therapy, speech therapy, counseling. Imagine if someday it were part of individual educational plans, that would be an incredible way to reduce feelings of social isolation for so many children.
Yes, that would be amazing. So I hope some politician or leader in a large organization that helps make those decisions can hear your podcast, our podcast, and consider it. And maybe they can make it happen. That would be great. Thank you for sharing your decades of experience with us today, Lisa. One last question before we part ways. On behalf of the kids, of the parents listening, what are some of the takeaway messages you have for parents with young children?
Believe in your child's potential. What they can do today may not indicate what they'll do tomorrow, next month, next year, or 10 years from now. And whether it's therapeutic horsemanship or another service, remember, we serve you. Interview us and you decide if we're the right match for your child. Above all, remember, you have a gift the world needs, a child who is unique. So don't let someone else put limits on what your child can be. Expose them to new things whenever you can.
Oh, those are some good thoughts, Lisa. And now parents are aware of horsemanship services for their child and they can understand the role it plays. So thank you for joining us today.